The Oklahoma City Thunder were absolutely desperate coming into this game. This Thunder team has not lost two times at home in a row since 2023. This is the defending champions, whether they are down numbers or not. Still a hell of a team. Still a hell of a team. And tonight, the Toronto Raptors, they were also down some numbers. And there's something about the OKC Thunder. I believe the best version of this team is probably with J Dub, with AJ Mitchell coming off the bench. But so far this year, there's been three iterations of the OKC Thunder. There has been the OKC Thunder with J Dub, which has not looked great because J Dub's still recovering from his injury. There's been the OKC Thunder without J Dub, but still relatively healthy and with AJ Mitchell sliding into that role. And that's been a really good team. That's the team that started 24-1. And then there is this version of the OKC Thunder, the team that just lost two straight. And they look really discombobulated. They look bad. Now, the Raptors didn't beat the Thunder because the Thunder couldn't hold float in the minutes without Shea. In fact, they beat the Thunder largely with Shea on the court. The Raptors were, in my opinion, like they were the healthier team tonight, which is weird. But they were also the road team. They were dog tired, snow delays everywhere, getting into OKC, etc. There's snow down there too. There's snow here. There's snow everywhere across North America right now in the Northern Hemisphere. And the Toronto Raptors honestly walked into tonight with every excuse to just give up. They played a very competitive first half. You know, it was neck and neck through most of it, but the OKC Thunder lead marginally going into the halftime huddle. And the Raptors lead by four going to the halftime huddle. And then when OKC comes out in the third quarter and stomps you, Scottie Barnes picks up fourth foul and then eventually the fifth foul. It's very easy, on a night where your star player, he doesn't really have it offensively. Your shooters aren't really hitting shots. The Raptors do end up mustering up 35% from the three. You get cremated really by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dissecting your offense, dissecting your defense, and drawing 2-3 to the ball, and then finding a way. It would be very, very easy for the Toronto Raptors to just give up tonight. I think I was expecting it, if I'm being honest. I was expecting it. I was not expecting the Raptors to pull this out. And then when Scottie goes out with that fifth foul, and then Scottie goes to the bench, and the Thunder start piling it on. And then it goes to a 2-point game, then a 4-point game, then a 6-point game. And Darko says, okay, we are going to be out of this game right now if I do not put my best player on the court. And Scottie comes in, down 6, and the Raptors won this game in the last 5 minutes of this game. How the hell does this guy do this? On a night where it looks like he's ailing, he looks like he's absolutely struggling to move. He finds a way to win the tip ball, the back-to-back tip ball. He finds a way to block Chet Holmgren down the stretch. He finds a way to get that offensive rebound among a sea of this is a very long team. The OKC Thunder don't get outworked like this ever. This does not happen. The OKC Thunder have a recipe for losing games, and there are nights where they lose games because another team catches fire from three. That's not what happened tonight. There are nights where they lose games because they can't buy a three. Partially that happened tonight because the OKC Thunder shot 26% from the three. I just think that what the Raptors did was very impressive. Even if you're not perfectly healthy and they're not perfectly healthy and all of that can be said, the Raptors wanted this game more. And I know that sounds such a cliche in sports. It's like this team just wanted it more. Watch the game. They won every loose ball, every tip, like Grady got on the ground. He's falling out of bounds. Scottie was working his tail off defensively. Every IQ, RJ, Brandon Ingram, different story. Brandon Ingram was late a lot. I want to talk shade about Brandon Ingram. This is a win. But BI definitely had a lot of answers, in my opinion, defensively. Sandro was doing his job defensively. Even if you didn't get there all the way, the effort was there, the compete level was there. And okay, early in the game, you did lose a couple shooters. You lose Isaiah Joe multiple times. You lose Ousmane Dieng in the corner. There's a lot of things to clean up on. There's plenty of places where the Raptors can improve their process. There's definitely some thought in my mind that having a Jakob Poeltl or a Colin Murray Boyles would have helped you tremendously tonight. But hey, man, I want to remind you something. Last year, I was effervescently positive about this team. I was the most positive podcaster on earth about the Raptors. I went on the panel day after day as my team lost game after game, and I said, "No, this team is good. They are fun to watch. They're playing exciting basketball. It's selfless. It's going somewhere." But I got to tell you, there was a moment last year where I questioned whether I was right about the Toronto Raptors' future, and it was against the OKC Thunder. It was against the OKC Thunder. I watched that game live. It was in Scotiabank. I watched this team dismantle my team. I watched Grady Dick look like a toddler. I watched Jacoby Walter and, Scottie Barnes look like children. I watched this team and I was just like, oh, in a league where that team exists and my team exists, I don't see a bright future. It sucks. It sucks. That game was the low point of my Raptors fandom last year. And to see the Toronto Raptors have a game like this, not at Scotiabank, by the way, 6 of the next 7 at home cooking coming up. But to have this game on the road, it was incredible. And it wasn't just Scottie Barnes down the stretch, obviously. It wasn't just Brandon Ingram with the early shot making, although Ingram went absolutely ice cold after those first few, ends up shooting 5 for 18. This is not what I would consider a great Brandon Ingram game on either end, by the way. You win this game in spite of Brandon Ingram's cold shooting and some very questionable decisions. How do you win this game? How the hell do you win this game? You win this game because of defense. You win this game because of hustle. You win this game for a multitude of reasons. You did not win this game on offense. I mean, as the nature of the game is, you do have to score 100 points, typically to win a basketball game. So the Raptors did find a way to get there. Nobody really shot that efficiently. If you're looking for a hero among the efficiency warriors, it would probably be Grady Dick, Emmanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett. Ironically, 3 of the guys who a lot of people want to trade right now. And RJ Barrett, second game coming back from injury. I don't think it was anything to write home about, but he competed on defense, ran out in transition, did what he usually does, which is, attack. He attacked. There were some really good decisions. Guys just didn't make shots. He found guys open, they didn't hit. He found cutters, they didn't hit. He kept the turnovers pretty low, kept himself from over dribbling the basketball, didn't take too many stupid out of rhythm shots, did miss a couple of, very gettable shots at the rim that I'm sure if he looks back on it, he wishes he can get back. There was maybe one play where I'm just like, oh, that's bad decision making, where he went over 3 defenders and missed it. But overall, solid game from RJ Barrett. Great game from Emmanuel Quickley. From process to execution, awesome game from Emmanuel Quickley. You saw it right away in the beginning of the game. He got them off to this really good start. I understand that some people think I'm an Emmanuel Quickley hater. I am not an Emmanuel Quickley hater. I am an Emmanuel Quickley is not a point guard truther. Okay. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Okay. And late down the stretch, Emmanuel Quickley playing point guard didn't really work for you. Emmanuel Quickley playing off guard with Jamal Shed worked for you. I don't know how people keep conflating these two things. They are not the same. If suddenly Brandon Ingram started playing center for the Raptors, I might start a crusade saying Brandon Ingram is not a center. That would not mean that I hate Brandon Ingram or that I'm a Brandon Ingram hater. I just don't like the idea of Emmanuel Quickley running decisions. That being said, fair is fair. He did a much better job of it tonight. Shot creation was a lot better tonight. He is an efficient 7 for 14 from the field, and he hit six threes for the Raptors tonight, picking up where he left off with the efficiency beacon against the Golden State Warriors, where he scored 40 points in the so-called most efficient game in NBA history. So that's been a hell of a road trip for Emmanuel Quickley. It's coming at a great time. I'm sure Bobby Webster's like, yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Please keep shooting like this because that trade value is going up, 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 up. It's going up. And, it's gone up to a point where now you're starting to see it and you're like, are we sure we want to trade this guy? Because the 3-point shooting is very valuable and none of these other guys can hit shots. And, tonight, Mamu goes 0 for 2. Scottie goes 0 for 2. Ingram goes 0 for 3. You don't get those 6 threes from Emmanuel Quickley. You shoot 6 threes total. Emmanuel Quickley's 6 threes accounted for half the total made threes for the Raptors tonight. That is a crazy load to carry. And in the modern NBA, hate to tell you, this ain't 1992. You can't really get away with being the worst 3-point shooting team And it's kind of ironic to me that most fans want to get rid of the worst three-point shooting team's best three-point shooter. It is a bit of a paradox because I do believe that a lot of people have a valid claim that maybe, just maybe, if this guy wasn't the point guard, other guys would actually shoot better from three. That being said, 10 points from Grady off the bench, continuing his streak of solid games. Jamal Shed couldn't hit from three tonight. Jacoby Walter couldn't hit from three tonight. Both of them had awesome games, especially Jacoby. I honestly, both of them, they were both incredible. They both made some really great decisions, but I was so impressed with those two off the bench. Ochai Agbaji, honestly, if you told me he didn't play, I would have believed you. He was perfectly fine, not great, nothing to write home about. Sandro Mamukelashvili was good. I don't think the -8 is on him. I think he just played a lot of minutes with Brandon Ingram, and it hurt him. You know, he was massively outsized. I don't think Mamu had a bad game. I don't think he had a great game. He just had an average to okay game. Brandon Ingram did struggle a lot from the field. I think there was a little bit of tunnel vision, a little bit too much, BI in the beginning. And it was just like, okay, well, he saw the first two go in and suddenly that's where we're going to go. But from that point, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he made his first two and then he proceeded to go three for 16 the rest of the way. A lot of those shots were really tough shots. And they weren't the tough shots where, okay, everybody else screwed up and then they throw it to Brandon Ingram and say, bail us out. No, this was like Brandon Ingram's own creation, like holding on to the ball too much, not spotting the double coming, not getting off the ball soon enough, not trusting, his teammates. So overall, I think you beat the Thunder without a star performance from Brandon Ingram. He certainly didn't look like an all-star for most of tonight, but shout outs to BI, pushed it through. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he got a couple blocks in there too. So, he tried defensively. I just think sometimes on the rotations he was a little bit late tonight. So just not a good Brandon Ingram game for me. Scottie Barnes was a mixed bag, man. Offensively, he looked like he was pressing all night, struggling with the length, struggling finishing through contact, complaining to the referees, looking a little unassertive, looking very passive, almost immediately. Like you've got Kenrich Williams top, not even looking to attack, just looking to hand it off to Jamal Shed or Jacoby Walter. The pre-decision to pass before you even see the court, I just thought Scotty was somewhere else tonight. And you know what? I was prepared to come on here and say Scotty was probably the reason you lost this game because as much as he provided defensively and his impact was obviously felt every time he came onto the court, it was a good thing. When he went to the bench, it was a bad thing. It was every time he was off the court, the Thunder went on a run. And it's largely because he's your only hope of protecting the rim on the court. Like he saved you so many points tonight. And you know what's funny? A lot of people don't really want to talk about Scottie Barnes being the defensive player of the year favorite right now because Vegas hasn't quite caught up to what ridiculous shit this guy is doing defensively. But I will tell you that this race will probably come down to three people. It will come down to Scottie Barnes, Chet Holmgren, and Rudy Gobert. I don't think anyone else really has a case in this race. And if you're gonna go between those three, I would say Scottie deserves it, bar none. And it's kind of interesting that tonight it was almost a head to head between the two guys who will probably be the defensive player of the year, head starters, which is Chet Holmgren and Scottie Barnes, and Scottie just dominated that matchup, across the board. I think he was just way more impactful than Chet. He bodied Chet, man. He put his body into Chet. He dunked on him once. He blocked his shot. He blocked a how many blocks does Scotty have today? He had 3 blocks. It felt like he had another 4 or 5, man. He's just tipping everything, getting his hands on everything. Like, is there a stat for winning a jump ball against a 7-footer with a 7'5", 7'6" wingspan? Is there a stat for that? Is there a stat for winning that jump ball and then the referee says, "No, you cheated on the jump ball," and then they re-jump it and you win again? Is there a stat for that? Is there a stat for winning 2 back-to-back jump balls against Chet Holmgren? Because I don't know a lot of small forwards, point guards, shooting guards, whatever the hell you think Scotty is. I don't think there's a lot that could do that. And it's just like, what kind of dawned on me today? I was thinking about, like my favorite players in the league, and I was thinking about my favorite player currently, which is Scottie Barnes, been my favorite player for the last 4 or 5 years. And I was like, what makes this guy my favorite player in the league? Like, what the hell is it? Is it some sort of personal, agenda? Like, what is it? And I was just like, man, the dude just cares about winning, you know? And I was thinking back to like my favorite soccer player growing up. I was thinking about my favorite MMA fighter, and they all have that shit in common, which is they have a very singular vision about what it is that they're doing on the court, on the field, on the pit, whatever it is. They just try to win. They're not looking at the box score. They're not looking at the girls. They're not looking at anything. There's nothing extracurricular about it. There's nothing about, stat padding, contract, ego, nothing. It's just, I'm here to compete. I'm here to win. And everything else is secondary. I could have 2 points and we win. We're good. I could have 40 points and we lose and I'm pissed. And Scotty is like, a lot of people say they're like that, but they're not really like that. Like you could see them kind of laughing after like a 40-point game where the team got blown out by 25, and they're deeply unserious people who probably don't deserve to be in competitive sports. But this is competition, right? So when we say like what is wrong with the NBA today, like a lot of times what we're really talking about is this. What we're talking about is people don't really want to compete. You know what I mean? People don't really want to be judged on the merits of winning. They want to be judged by the Instagram followers, the brand deals. They want to be judged on the quality of their, following and all that shit. But the reality is you got this dude right here and all he wants to do is win. And you've had this media cabal in the United States is basically trying to brand this guy as a loser for the last couple of years because his team's not winning. Well, guess what, man? The Raptors are winning now at 29 wins to 19 losses. By my book, this is a top 5 road team in the league that just went on a 5 game road trip in the West, which is usually a death sentence for all Raptor teams in the past, and just went 4-1. They beat teams that have been playing the best basketball of their season. And you can say what you want about the luck with the health and all that stuff. The Raptors ain't been healthy, hadn't had a center all year. And Scottie Barnes just wins. That's what I'm coming to with this guy. This guy could be having the worst game in the history of the world. He could be shooting 1 for 30. And he ain't ever going to shoot 1 for 30 because he ain't going to take 30 shots. But he could be shooting 1 for 15, okay, going into the fourth quarter. And I can bet my bottom dollar, if it is a game within 10, this guy will be busting his ass, blocking shots, stealing, tipping, dunking, and doing everything. He has an extra gear where I'm just like so convinced that in a playoff setting, this guy ain't letting you lose a game 7. He will go out. You know, there's something that Elijah Martin said. He said they're gonna have to drag me off the floor. I love that dog mentality. And Scotty got it, CMB got it, Elijah got it, you know, and I think it's very infectious. I think it's very infectious. Speaking of players who got that dog mentality, Jacoby Walter. We're going to look at several clips in today's film session that are really going to point to what an impressive dent Jacoby Walter made in this game because it was his first game coming back from a lengthy absence with the injury. I think it was a hip pointer, and no slow play. Got right into it and was immediately impactful to the point where I was just like, he probably should start the second half. He's been so good. He did everything, everything. Let's just take a look real quick at the team stats here. The Raptors at the half were mega leading the possession battle. They continue to lead the possession battle throughout the game. They end up shooting a little bit worse from the field than the OKC Thunder. That's going to happen when they have a superstar who plays like a superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But you did hold Shai to 24 points. And most importantly, you held him to 11 shot attempts. Let me just do a quick. I can't remember the last time Shai had 11 shot attempts, dude. I really can't. Hold on. I just want to check his game log for a sec here. 11 shot. Shai never attempts 11. Dude, this is the first time. Okay. There was a win against New Orleans where he attempted 9. I stand corrected. That's the only other game. It's 14 to 24 minimum every night. There's another one. Here we go against Houston in a win where presumably he didn't play the fourth quarter because they won by 20. He ended up with 11. But in a game where they lost and he took 11 shots, mm-mm, no, that ain't ever happening. So that's crazy. I think the Raptors did a hell of a job of just limiting his good touches tonight. That's crazy. That's honestly crazy. I hadn't realized. Like while I was watching the game, I was just like, no, Shea's doing a good job. Like in the third quarter, he really turned it on. What else sticks out? The rebounding. The Raptors thoroughly out rebounded them 12-5 on the offensive glass, 51-37 overall. Obviously huge, right? One thing maybe the Raptors wish they can get back, especially if they lost this game, the free throws. 17 for 26 from the line. The Thunder do get to the line more, but they get 7 extra points at the line. And that is just like in a close game where you are outworking the shit out of this team. That's hard. Uh, 10 steals to 5 blocks, 6 blocks to 5 blocks. You beat them at their own game. You forced as many turnovers as they forced. I really can't remember the last time the Thunder had such a twin game. And honestly, if you remember, give me a W in the chat if you remember this. Do you remember that in the offseason when the Raptors drafted CMB and Elijah Martin, I said that the Raptors were trying to become OKC East. I made a live about it where I was saying like they're trying to mimic the style of OKC. I think tonight OKC got a touch of their own medicine, like how Jacoby got into to Chet's handle, how Scottie was erasing shit at the rim. Like it was very like, yo, how does this feel? You know what I mean? Very many times tonight, it felt like the Thunder did get what they wanted and they just missed shots. So I will give credit where credit is due. The Thunder did not make their shots. There's a lot of, things to clean up for the Raptors. But in the end of the third, towards the fourth quarter, when the Raptors really turned up their intensity, that extra gear that they had, it really felt like OKC was facing OKC. And it was just very impressive. And, my only regret of tonight is that we didn't get to see CMB play. I think Colin Murray Boyles fits the DNA of this game too, right? So, yeah, I can't say enough good things about the Toronto Raptors tonight. They end up leading for about 39% of this game. So this is not like some sort of last minute fluke where OKC takes the foot off the pedal. No, there were plenty of moments where the Raptors won this game. And if you look at the win probability and game flow, like this was a neck and neck game. You played this team blow for blow, neck and neck. They were favored to win for most of the game because they're at home and they're a better team. But right at the end of the second half, right at the beginning of the third quarter, when you jumped off to a 59-52 lead, where I think it was Brandon Ingram making 1 of 2 from the line and then RJ Barrett back-to-back layups, you were 59-52 before they turned up the intensity in that third quarter. But you took it right back towards the middle of the third quarter. You take it right back. You get up 66-62. And right at the end, you just get this huge surge. I just want to let you know, like, this is where the Raptors were when Scottie Barnes got back into the game here. Where the hell was it? It was like right here. Yeah, this was the score, 92-86. 92-86, Toronto's down. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes to the line. I mean, my God. And then it's just a Scottie masterclass. The final 6 minutes of this game was everything Scottie Barnes can do without scoring the basketball. Literally everything. And I mean, I think he scored like on a dunk from Jamal Shead on the pass. But overall, this game was not about Scottie's necessarily. This game was not about Scottie's passing or scoring or whatever. He did a little bit of everything. Maybe the numbers don't stick out to you. It's not one of those Jalen Johnson 39 points, 17 rebounds, 14 assists type performances. But man, if you understand basketball, you'd be so stupid not to be able to see the impact of this dude. When the Thunder went to their zone, the best player to break that zone was Scottie at the mid post. Scottie at the nail. So yeah, I'm positive seeing him. Seeing him grimacing, seeing him, holding his hand and stuff. I see it. And I'm sure he's not feeling right now. But man, what a gutsy performance to get himself through this. Let's take a look at some of the select plays for tonight. Also, shout outs to you if you are watching this from Toronto, because I'm gonna tell you right now, man, the weather is crazy. Looked outside of my balcony today. It was absolutely insane. I said great decision, by Emmanuel Quickly here, man. Also, someone said I'm not looking at the chat. I promise I'm trying to look at the chat. I'm a little bit, let's just say tired. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. If someone wants to call in, here's an off-topic thing I really want to talk about because I hadn't seen the movie and I finally got the chance to watch the movie yesterday. Sinners. Y'all seen Sinners? Give me W in the chat if you've seen Sinners and if you like Sinners. I got a lot to say about Sinners towards the very end of this live. I'm also like my brain is on programming brain because we're doing the Penn Dance programming right now. Penn Dance is coming up in Toronto, February 27th to March 1st. I am burned out, bro. I have watched about 45 films, 50 films in the last 24 hours, and my brain is melting. I actually watched Sinners just to get my mind off of the films that I was watching. It was crazy. So if someone wants to call and talk about Sinners, I got a lot to say. There's a lot. This movie was profound. I don't want to call it a movie. It was a film. It was a film. Anyways, back to basketball for a second. Brandon Ingram takes Shea one-on-one. Here, takes a shot, just marginally misses it. But look at this effort level. And this is what I talk about, like the effort level. The Raptors came in with a plan to win this basketball game tonight. Gets the pass. And instead of forcing this up, does force this up, gets blocked from behind. But instead of quitting on this, Scottie Barnes pursuit and finds Emmanuel quickly. Quickly finds Chet running off. That does not look like a defensive player of the year. Jay Will, not necessarily the best. SGE saying, is he doing Collins? Yes, sir. Is it not in the description? It is in the description. It's like literally the first link. You want me to throw the link in the description? I will after the phone session. Anyways, so yeah, so I just think like this play is a good rhythm establisher, right? I said Brandon Ingram is an all-star. Now here, this was right at the start of this game. Again, Chet getting fried. So first play, Chet getting fried by Emmanuel Quickly off the dribble. Second play, Chet getting fried by Brandon Ingram off the dribble. I was just like, man, the Raptors don't seem to think Chet is a great defender at all. They might agree with Big Ox Media and saying that Chet is food. I mean, I'm being facetious. I obviously think Chet is an awesome defender. He's a great defender. But here, this play had me laughing. What the hell? You bet it will. He rode him like a horse. He rode him like a horse. Now, I totally understand this. Like, is something like that has happened to me one time, and it's crazy because somebody jump on your back and then you don't want to fling them off. So yeah, but I don't think he got a call for that. So apparently, horse riding is okay, but don't you dare touch somebody because that will be called a foul. I will tell you right now, the Raptors absolutely got messed up by the whistle tonight. Absolutely got the short end of the stick every time. Anytime there was a 50-50 play tonight, it went the Thunder's way. Now, I understand they're NBA champions and all that shit, and they're like really great team. I get it. They're one of my favorite teams too. But come on. Proximate foul, like these ticky-tack. Like Scottie Barnes is an all-star. You did not get all-star calls tonight from Scottie Barnes. Okay. Like they were allowed to abuse him. The one play they do call, they overturn it because, well, the defender was in a legal guarding position and Scottie pushed off too. Like, come on, man. There's so much contact on that. There's a certain amount of contact that I believe that the refs allow teams to do with Scottie because he looks so strong. And it's really stupid. It's like Jokic gets officiated very differently than Shea. Shea looks a little bit more frail and a little bit more skinny. So, he flies around a lot more. His center of gravity is very great, but unfortunately, because he doesn't weigh a lot, he takes contact and he actually like flies around a little bit he's like a luxury car, right? Whereas Scottie is more like built like a Grand Am. So they just assume that the Grand Am or the Hummer or whatever car you want to call Scottie, that's going to be more durable. It's going to be able to take a little more bump. But still, man, like Scottie is obviously not a player who plays super well through contact right now. And he's not exactly finishing these fucking shit through like Shaq. He's not finishing like Shaq right now. So very many times, like incidental contact gets him very frustrated. He gets flustered and then he misses shots at the rim. Like very many times. Go back and check out all the shots that Scottie's missing at the rim. I'll guarantee you there's a foul on half of them. So they're not calling them, but hey, Here, Scottie Barnes. Okay. This is like just beautiful court processing, right? He makes this move with no intention to score. Now, again, this is kind of my issue with Scotty. I love the pass that he's about to make, but at least try to score, man. He don't even care about scoring here. He's not thinking about, yo, this is not a shot blocker. Kenrich Williams can't block me. He's thinking, how can I get number 13 to pay attention to me long enough to allow Grady Dick to cut into this? And here, just perfect. Here, Lou Dort can't recover in time. Scotty cannot believe that that was not an and one for Grady Dick. I said Scottie Barnes is a professional zone buster. And apparently Elon Musk does not want me to show this video. So hang tight. Oh, here we go. Nope, that was the same play. My bad. No. Now, this is the one shot that RJ took among his 12 attempts that I really didn't like. There's one or two that I was like, that's questionable, but this one just feels wrong. Okay, here Scotty finds RJ. Here, he's gonna slip. And RJ does his job here. He draws in, he draws in Isaiah Joe. Now, here, I understand Jacoby's kind of cold shooting. You have to trust him. You have to trust him. Cason Wallace, who, later got injured and was not able to return to this game, he's not going to be able to guard Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick and Jacoby Walters. So at some point, you do have to trust that this is not a great shot. Shea has a 7-foot wingspan. He is long enough to contest your shot. You're already not the greatest finisher around the rim. Maybe we just trust that this ain't a great shot. And there's always the option to pass back to Scotty, like who's wide open and can probably draw some contact here, which he will inevitably not get a foul call for. So I understand. Anyways, you could also call a foul on that. I said you can't lose Isaiah Joe like this, like for real. Here, this is the amount of pressure that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander puts on a defense, and also the consequence of having Grady and IQ as the load man. And this is just, it's bad defense, fine, but I don't know what Grady's supposed to do. Maybe get a little bit lower, maybe angle a little bit towards the help. Here, he just gives up a drive, gets out of the way to avoid calling, to avoid getting the foul. And Shea just finds Lou Dort, who was cooking tonight, and he finds Isaiah Joe, the best shooter on the court, and Ochai Agbaji's a little bit late. You just can't be in two places at once. And sometimes when Shea is getting into the middle and dissecting yourself, it really does feel like sometimes you're playing against six players. It's really a miracle for the rest of the league that the OKC shooters have a tendency to go cold as often as they do, because this is crazy. Here, Brandon Ingram, pass to Emmanuel Quickley. Ingram sets the screen. Good screen. Roll. Perfect. Perfect. I have wanted Emmanuel Quickley to do this. Hold on. Let me just double check. Did he pick up his dribble again? He did, didn't he? Yeah. And he got in the air. But nevertheless, like, I'm going to say 5 times out of 10, this is going to be a turnover, but this time it gets through. No hating for me. That's a great idea. And here, look at the basketball IQ of Brandon Ingram and Sandro Mamukelashvili. Again, you need to time these actions, which requires rhythm and continuity and players understanding, well, if this guy gets a spot here, this is what he's most likely to do, and then reading off of that, which is why it's really like one of those things where this is a team, the Toronto Raptors especially, that is likely to get better as the season gets on. Like, I do believe this team is going to play its best basketball maybe in March, April. And that's good. That's good because, you're already 10 games above 500. How much better can you possibly get as teams start to tank? And obviously, you don't want to be flatlining close to the playoffs. You want to be getting healthy and playing your best basketball. This is some of the best basketball that Emmanuel Quickley's played all season, but this is also some of the best basketball that Sandro Mamukelashvili and Grady Dick have played. And as the two guys who are, spacing the court positively for your team right now, more than perhaps anybody, like the three guys who are spacing the court more than anyone for your team are Sandro Mamukelashvili, Grady Dick, and obviously Emmanuel Quickley. Those three guys all playing well right now is greasing the wheel. So even if Scotty has scored like, I think 10 points and 11 points in the last 2 games, and it's not really like since RJ's come back, we've seen, I mean, prior to the game, so the last game that the Raptors played, so the last two games, Scotty's averaging around 11, I would say 10 and a half, 11. Prior to that, he's averaging 24. So clearly, like he is adjusting himself out of the offense and taking more of a defensive focus. But honestly, Scotty with 80% focus on defense and 25% offense, I think is probably a recipe for the Raptors being a better team. And that's not to say Scotty shouldn't want to score 25 points per game, but when CMB is out, he really can't. Like he has to be the everything for this team defensively. Obviously, you're getting help from Jamal Shed, you're getting help from Emmanuel Quickly, you're getting help from Jacoby Walter, you're getting help from a lot of places, but you have to be the quarterback, and that has to be your focus. You know, you can't focus on 14 different things. Shea is not the lockdown defender for OKC. Alex Caruso is. He didn't play tonight. You know, Lou Dort is. Kaysen Wallace is. That's their role. When they come on the court, they're not thinking about how do I dissect this pick and roll? How do I set up the offense? How do I, initiate pick and roll with Sandro and get him good shots and set everybody up? And how am I table setting, scoring my 15? Where am I looking for my short mid range, long mid range, stuff like that? They're not thinking about that stuff. They're thinking, how do I stop my man? How do I help my teammates stop their man? And that's the point here. Scotty's shift mentally the last two games has been basically to I am the defender of this team. And if I don't defend, we can't win. It is a commitment to saying, fuck the numbers. Okay. I am just going to do the the job that I am only uniquely positioned to do on this team. Because again, you can say what you want about Sandro and RJ. RJ is a defensive liability, so is Grady. Okay. These two are finally hitting shots and playing together. Lineups with those two are going to be very defensively slanted. They're going to be very defensively deficient. They're going to be very offensively focused. And so Scotty demanding 20 touches kind of negates the point of even having those guys out there. So I totally understand it from his perspective. I just find that just from an optics perspective, he's going to have to find a way to score 15 to 20 points on these defensively focused nights too. But nevertheless, moving on. I said Jacoby Walter is giving the OKC Thunder a taste of their own medicine. This is just a rip. Great defense here. Chet, very high dribble for a 7-footer. And sometimes he gets in trouble. He does a good job of shielding the defender here, but boom, on this turn, you can tell this is intense film work. Jacoby knew exactly how to time this swipe based on, where Chet was going, his propensity to put the ball and then spin. And this is just, you just got out scouted, like straight up. And here, Brandon Ingram, terrible, just terrible fast break. Number one, double dribble. Number two, just an awful pass. I have no idea how the hell that even got to Sandro Mamukelashvili. But shout outs to Sandro Mamukelashvili and the Toronto Raptors for completing that, but mainly shout outs to Jacoby Walter for even creating that play. And I said Jacoby has had 2 points so far in this game, and he has been probably the biggest reason that the Raptors are up. And I meant it. Like, you do not win this game without him doing what he did on the defensive end. But also, Scottie Barnes, points were not easy to come by. He basically got most of his points off of fouls and dunks, like open dunks like this. And here are 2 of Scotty's 10 points tonight. Again, this is not a defense that he was able to create great advantages against, nor did he try to. He allowed other people to do it. And hey, man, tonight it worked. When they're healthy, it won't. When they're healthy, he's going to have to be a scorer and he's going to have to be an all league defender. He's going to have to put in a much bigger impact on this game on both ends when they're healthy to keep the Raptors even in the game. I don't think the Raptors have a chance in hell, quite frankly. If Scottie Barnes is limping around and holding his wrist and playing this way offensively, you cannot beat a healthy Thunder team. You won't be within 15 points of a healthy Thunder team. But tonight, you did what was necessary. You win this game. Here, Emmanuel Quickly, off the dribble, navigating, and shot creating. Now, this is exactly the shot that I think Emmanuel Quickly very often struggles with. This self-creation, generating space, pulling up on a dime here. But here, you do find a very weak defender. And you are able, well, I don't say a very weak defender. You find a weaker defender, and you're able to exploit that mismatch, and you hit the shot, which is amazing. Now, here, the Thunder have a limited time to make this move. Jacoby doing a great job of just keeping Shea into the help, right? You got Scotty and Mamu there. Mamu just being positionally sound. Obviously, all of this aggressive help in paint means that Chet is going to be wide open. Quickly does a very good job of contesting late on Chet. Now, here's Scottie Barnes grabs the rebound. 2.6 seconds on the clock, 2.1 by the time he turns. Here, quickly is demanding that Scotty pass him the ball. Now, I understand the logic from Quickly's side, which is that I'm closer to the basket. I'm a much better shooter. I probably have a chance to even maybe get this off. But I think from Scotty's end, he's probably thinking Chet's just going to tip this. So it's kind of interesting that at the end of the first half, the two can be seen on the court right here having a lengthy disagreement about Scotty launching this into the stratosphere because, as you may have seen, Scotty did this and just threw it into the ocean. So interesting. At the half, these were the numbers. The Raptors were shooting 43% from the field, tied with the Thunder. The only reason they were up was largely because they had taken 10 more shots. They had gotten to the line just as many times, and you knew that wasn't going to stick around in the second half. They had out rebounded the Thunder just as they did for the rest of the game, and they had 26 points to 12 versus the Thunder in the paint. And I just think that the Raptors out executed the Thunder tonight. I don't need to say like they're not out talenting the Thunder. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player on this court, bar none, obviously. Okay. He is the best player. He is so much better than Scotty and BI right now. It's not funny, right? If you watch him, if you appreciate him, shout outs to Hamilton's own, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's amazing. Stopping that dude is not easy, okay? To put that kind of effort on your team, he is the type of guy who can probably single-handedly beat a lot of teams in this league, with competent help when his help is shooting. So, big accomplishment. I said, get involved, Scotty. Shit. Scottie Barnes, you can tell. He's catching this and immediately thinking pass. He's thinking pass. Who's open? Who's open? Who's open? And nobody's open. And here he's thinking about passing to RJ Barrett, thinking about slinging this out to Mamu, and then ultimately notices, you know what? Oh, right. I have an ability to score. I can still score. Scotty's been pretty good inside the arc. Like for the last month and a half, he's been pretty good inside the arc. Around the rim, short mid range, long mid range, he's been fine. It's the threes that just have not been falling for him. Basically, the further he gets from the basket, the less he can score right now. Here, the OKC Thunder, they find Ousmane Dieng wide open. And this is just when the Raptors were ready to give up on this game. You could feel it. You could just feel it, right? They completely, and they get lucky. They miss this. And here, Jalen Williams can't get a hand on it. Here, Jamal Shed just throws this ahead. Jacoby Walter, dunk in transition. Ousmane Dieng playing minutes in this game. And I'm not even a hater. I'm not a hater of Ousmane Dieng. I think he has a chance to maybe be a player who works out eventually. But he is definitely the worst player on that roster. And him playing minutes tonight definitely helped the Toronto Raptors. Him not making that three probably saved the Raptors in this game because the momentum had shifted, man. It is just shift, shift, shift. So hard. Okay, here we go. This time, RJ Barrett in transition, finding Grady Dick wide open for three. The Thunder may not have gotten the report. Grady can shoot threes now. He's like hitting them now, which is amazing. Now, this play had me screaming, no, 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 no. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? This is crazy. Oh my God, no. What the fuck? This is terrible. What the fuck? Never mind. That's great. That's great. That's great. Never mind. That's great. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Just like we drew it up, man. Just like we drew it up. Once again, saved by the hair of their chinny chin chin. Medved Ted said quickly got the chain. Cool. He probably got the highest box plus minus on the team, hitting 6 threes. As I said, you're not winning this game without Scotty. You're not winning this game without Quickly. You're not winning this game without Jacoby. Those three, to me, were like absolute de facto most important players. Grady, CMB, sorry, not CMB, Grady, BI, like everybody played a part, obviously. But if I had to go in order, like who really saved you this game, I would say probably Quickly, Scotty, Jacoby, like that, probably in that order. again, as much as I want to glaze Scottie Barnes being plus 15 tonight, by the way, the highest on any Raptor, as much as I want to say about his late game heroics, basically climbing them back from the dead, like, this game was over. The game was over, okay? They were down 6, fourth quarter, Thunder at home. This game, Scotty brought him back from the dead, okay? And he was the difference in the lineup that was losing and the lineup that was winning very often tonight. They tell you not to pay attention to plus minus. He is their hope defensively. He does everything. He's rebounding, he's boxing out, he's winning, loose balls, he's dictating flow and tempo defensively, which is a real thing. Like, you can actually dictate physicality, flow, tempo, communication. The Raptors just looked way more organized defensively with Scotty on the court. And, we have a panel group chat, and, people were going nuts. Like, people were like, when the Raptors were about to lose, they're just like, how does that SGA belt to ass taste? Blah, 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 blah. And then a minute later, Scotty Barnes checks into the game, and it's just like, damn, Scotty's a really good defender. Damn, Scotty winning them the game. That's exactly what it was. I said Scottie Barnes, defensive player of the year case is getting stronger. Look at this play, slowed down. And this is just like, how, how? Also, there's 666 viewers in here. Someone either get in or get out. This number freaks me out. Speaking of sinners, shit. Okay. So, that's nuts. That is crazy. That just how? Like, how do you even, like, you're still on the ground. This ball is, I want to say 14 feet in the air right now, right? It's 14, that's 13, that's 12, that's 11. So you jumped that high that you were able to tip this shit 11 feet in the air. Like, do you understand the physics of Scottie Barnes? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts. Anyways, like, that's just nuts. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorite passes from Scotty all night, and he made a lot of great passes tonight. Here, boom, Kenrich Williams, you can't guard me. Left hand pass, right. I want to say right in the pocket, a little bit off target, but just smooth. And Grady just barely grazes rim there, holding his head like, I can't believe I fucking missed that. And here, Scottie Barnes gets called for his 5th foul. And that happens at the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Now, look at the score, okay? Just want to be clear about something. Look at the score. It's 86-85, Raptors up, okay? By the time he came back, it was 92-86, and the Raptors had managed 1 point to the OKC Thunder's 7 points. So the Thunder went on a 7-1 run over the next 3.5 minutes without Scotty on the court. And it's just like, I don't know. Is it correlation is not causation, man? But like, I'm watching it. I'm watching it happen. Here, Jacoby misses another 3. Look at Scotty fighting for this loose ball. Again, the Thunder are up. And Scotty is just fighting for this loose ball. Just anything to get his hands on that basketball. Anything to win the game. Now here, Scottie Barnes, with the game still, this is the next play, 95-94. Scotty goes downhill. And here, gets fouled, in my opinion, by Chet Holmgren. But I can understand why this call was overturned. I can understand it. But my point is, if it was Shea on the other end, this call would never be overturned. They would use all of the contact to the lower body into the gather as evidence. And Jack Armstrong, rightfully called it out on air, where he said, there is, yes, a case to overturn this, but there's also a lot of contact here. And you can make a very solid case that is a foul. And to take 2 points away from the Raptors in this situation when you've been jobbing them all night and calling it, oh, we gotta go tip ball. with jump ball, and then Scottie wins the jump ball, by the way, wins the fucking jump ball. And then they say, no, you jumped too early, and Darko is frustrated. And then he wins it again. As I say, he has the winning gene. I said, you got to find a better shot than this. If you're Emmanuel Quickley, like this is sometimes, like putting a stain on an otherwise good night. Once again, 96, 95, you're down one. Be conservative, find a better look than this. But you know what? Can't be too mad at it. If he goes in, everyone's glazing him. But tough shot. I think you need to find a better shot than that, though. Now, this is the shot. Okay. 97-98. Raptors up by 1. Go for the kill shot right here. You don't want to play around with SGA. And here, Jamal Shed gets 2 feet in the paint, flicks this over. Kenrich Williams forgets about Emmanuel Quickley. That's too much room for that level of shooter, man. That's too much room for a shooter that good. And that's nuts. And I said, Scottie Barnes just wins. The Toronto Raptors had 21 seconds on the clock. There were 18 seconds on the shot clock. Okay. That is a 3-second differential. Game clock, shot clock. The Toronto Raptors play hot potato. First, Scottie Barnes gets it to Brandon Ingram. And I kind of wish one of those two had just taken and held onto the ball. Instead, the ball finds the hands of Jamal Shed. No problem. Jamal's not a bad free throw shooter. At least it didn't find the hands of, I don't know, RJ Barrett, who is a bad free throw shooter. Jamal uncharacteristically misses both. Now you are in big fucking trouble, right? You can't miss both. Okay. You gotta, like, first I was like, you know what? You gotta make at least one, right? But I'm like, nah, be safe. I know our luck in these late game situations. Make both, right? Then he goes and misses one. And my stupid ass brain is like, there ain't no way in hell he's gonna miss a second one. Because there's no way that anybody is getting a rebound over Jay Will and Chet Holmgren in the paint, and we don't have a center on the court. It's not like we got Day'Ron Sharp. Shout outs to Day'Ron. It's not like we got Jakob Poeltl and CMB and Scottie down there. No, there's basically one really good rebounder on the court for the Raptors, and there's like 3 for them. I'm just like, yo, Shed, you got to make this shot. And that's the moment you knew that Scottie Barnes was really great, huh? That was crazy. That's actually crazy. How the hell did he get his hands on this? Let me slow this down. Let me mute this for a second. Let me just slow this down. One, two. That's the game. Emmanuel quickly goes to the line, makes 2 free throws. The shot that they make at the end, I think it was Kenrich Williams making the shot, didn't matter, didn't have any consequence on the game. The Toronto Raptors win. They win. Do you know that the Raptors were 11.5-point underdogs coming into this game? Just want to let y'all know that. Okay, Angel, what's up, man?
What up, Rob? You good?
I'm good. What's up?
We did it again. How do we keep doing this?
Do what?
Win a game we probably shouldn't have with our 2 best players combining for, what, 23 points?
The game is not about who scores. Well, I mean, the game is about the team scoring more points.
For sure, but that's why it helps that defense is what we rely on.
Defense travels.
Exactly.
There is that old adage, defense travels on the court. And the Raptors just went 4-1 on a defense on a road trip that I think most people were expecting to go 1-4 on.
Insane.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're overachieving. That's why I feel like we were talking about last time, I think it makes more sense to go with the smaller improvements, like getting Dayron Sharp instead of swinging for one of these situations that probably doesn't make the best sense for us, but it's just the bigger blockbuster move.
Sure.
Man, quickly, he did it again. That's like 4 good games in a row. I feel like the more he plays off ball and when that shot is dropping, like you can't deny the value that he brings to the team. Yeah, he's wouldn't have got that deal, 32.5 from anywhere else, but I guess that's the Toronto tax. We always have to overpay anybody that comes over here. But it's good he got his value. He's getting his value up. If we do find something that makes sense, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But to be honest, right now, especially for our team, we need that type of player, especially if we use him how he should be used, which he's kind of been doing more as of recently.
Hmm. Well, I mean, he had that great off-ball game against Golden State, and then went right back to going more on-ball the next game. And I don't necessarily know if he's had 4 great games. He's had 4 great games on paper, which certainly helps. You know, if you're looking to trade him, in these trade talks, like it certainly helps if his numbers improve a little bit. The analytics have always liked Emmanuel Quickley a lot more than they like Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett. So, it's interesting. But yeah, yeah, I think the Raptors are rounding into form. You don't want to be limping into the trade deadline, because then teams are like, oh no, they got to make a move. So I
Yeah,
think maybe the trade deadline is why they're keeping the Jakob Poeltl stuff a little bit hush hush and close to the vest as well, because they're probably thinking of it like, are we going to have less of a negotiating power to get a backup center if everyone knows that the backup center we're after is actually the starting center? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, but I wouldn't be surprised if privately they've let a couple teams know like what the deal is with Yak. Yeah.
But what do you think
Anyways, yeah.
we do for a trade for Yak? Like
Pardon?
best case scenario, we're taking somebody else's problem for ours. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, for sure. Jakob is not netting you positive value right now. That contract you gave him pretty much sealed it. The back injury just makes it that much worse. I think probably, if you're looking at this, you're gonna get you're gonna be giving up a first round pick to get off of him at minimum. If it was like neutral, like you're giving up a first round pick. So my view on this is I'm perfectly fine with giving up that first round pick as long as you get younger and better in that situation and you do not give up something too far into the future. I certainly see the ramifications of holding on to Yak too long right now. If this back issue gets worse, it's going to like that trade value is going to go from theoretically bad to biblically bad. So kind of where I'm at right now on Yak. But hey, like you're kind of trading him at the bottom, so like maybe a deal for Dayron Sharp buys you some time, and you know how much the Raptors love their optionality and flexibility. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there any player or deal that you heard of in particular for Yak where you know what type of player or who we would be bringing back? Wouldn't
Mm,
be a Yak deal for Dayron Sharp, right? They wouldn't take Yak.
that's not a feasible deal. It cannot be done because Jakob makes 20 million and Dayron makes 6, so that wouldn't work. If it was Jakob Poeltl for Dayron Sharp, it would be Jakob Poeltl plus 2 first round picks for Dayron Sharp and Terrence Mann. That would be the contract, uh, to just make the numbers balance. But I could see that. I could see that for the Nets. Like, why wouldn't you want to get out 2 first round picks in that situation? Or you can get a first round pick and a swap or something like that. But I think if you're the Nets, like your swaps are not like if you're the Raptors and the Nets, the swap doesn't really make sense or add very much value. It's not likely that anytime in the near future the Raptors are going to be worse than the Nets. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Angel, any final thoughts, man?
Who do we play next? We going back home?
Yeah.
I think we have a stretch there, right?
Yeah, your audio is really buggy, bro. Like every time you call in, you got like some real messed up audio. But yeah, January 28th, we got New York, and then January 30th, we got Orlando, and then February 1st, we got Utah. Yeah. So the Raptors have some time to recoup, rest, and get back home. Probably flight's going to be delayed because, we got like a biblical storm out here right now. But yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks
Sorry
for
about the
calling in.
audio. I'm gonna try to figure it out next time, but
Yeah, it's like a buzzing, persistent buzzing, and then there's like occasional clanking that goes off in the background. But yeah, it's just not a fun listen if you're listening on headphones. Anyways, peace, man. All right. And the audio is clean again. Yes, the Toronto Raptors are, I mean, you got to be honest. Like you've done as well as you possibly could have hoped for on this stretch here, right? You lose the back-to-back LA, right? Probably shouldn't have lost. If I'm being honest, you definitely shouldn't have lost that Clippers game. It sucks, right? That you lose it. But then you go into, Golden State, you get 145 points on the board, and it's just like, you can see it waning. Look at the Raptors go from 145 points scored to 122 points scored to 110 scored to 103 scored. But the last two games, man, that defense from Scottie, like when him focusing all of his attention on defense. Do y'all remember that time where I said Scottie's defense has been kind of lagging? Like it was like 3 games ago where I was just like, he hasn't really been like doing a great job defensively. This is not DPOY Scottie. I think I said it against Golden State. Yeah, the last couple of games has been DPOY level Scottie. Like it's been like everything everywhere all at once. And when he decides to focus on the defense, holy shit. Now, to all the people who said like the Raptors offense is so much better with RJ Barrett back, et cetera, I think you're noticing like what is happening to the Raptors offense. The last 2 games with RJ Barrett, granted, you do go up against 2 pretty good defensive teams. So that's part of it. But you score 110 points and you score 103 points. Okay. That is an average combined 106 points. Right. So you're averaging 106 points in a league where teams are regularly putting up 120, 125. So it's your defense. It's your defense that's winning you the games, the last 2 games. And ironically, with the first 2 games, it was your offense that won you games. So it almost seems like to me, as a Scottie Barnes fan, that whatever side of the court Scottie Barnes focuses on is the side of the court that tends to win you the game. And, for, yeah, AJ 26er said last time Leafs won, they had majority Canadian players, 67. Evil Cookie said, Yo, Pen, I want to talk about Sinners. How can I hop on the call? So you use the link in the description. Do you see the description on the video? Let me drop the link here. I'm happy to talk about Sinners, man. It's like it's on my mind. It's like it's imprinted on my mind. So I had been putting off watching Sinners forever. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like yeah. Hang on. Just want to briefly share my post about this. I'd been putting off watching Sinners forever. I knew it was an important film. I tend to put off important things sometimes because of procrastination. But yeah, like I I think this is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. It's nuts. This film is it's so many things. It's so many things. First of all, um, if you understand what the film has, like what it is trying to say, I think a lot of people it probably went over their heads. I want to Ryan Alex Harris saying Sinners is kind of like 2 separate films in one. I mean, you could say that. Yeah, that's nuts. There's so much history behind this. So I want to focus on a couple of things. Uh, just for anyone who's watched it, We got Daniel calling in. I don't know if you calling in to talk about Sinners, or you calling to talk about the Raptors. What's up?
What's up? How you doing? I haven't watched Sinners in a long time. I watched it when it came out in the theaters. So I don't want to. I'll just say my thoughts on it real quick. I thought
Sure.
it was really interesting that it's kind of a political movie. So is it okay if I get in that territory or not?
Um, I think it kind of depends on what you're about to say, but sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I'll keep it respectful. I just thought it was really interesting that in the part of the movie, without getting too much into spoilers or anything, um, where they were hosting they had this nightclub that they set up.
The Juke.
Yeah. And, like poets have always been, it's all like artists and, everybody's kind of very diverse in a sense. I'm not talking about they had like a diversity of character. Everybody was different and whatever, but they
Mhm.
got together for this, specifically for that. And then on the other side, outside of this camp, you had the vampires who were really what was different about them is that they kind of assimilated everybody into this kind of singular character. And that was like the revelation. That was like what they revealed to be the light. Like that's like how they understood how they kind of assimilated reality into this like wholeness, into this like oneness. And I thought it was really interesting that there was this kind of distinction between, the in camp and the out camp. Um, and I really think that's where the movie got the most like interesting. I don't want to ramble on too much. I want to kind of hear your thoughts about what I just said.
I'm not really sure what to say about that. Like us that wasn't really my read on the film, and like, and it just might be just me not understanding what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, what was your read on it? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so a lot of things.
Mhm.
The film tackles, in my opinion, and so again, full disclosure here, I'm a filmmaker. I also run a film festival, so I watch this film very differently. I watched it from the lens of cinematography. I watched it from the lens of sound design. I watched it from the lens of being a avid fan of hip hop,
Mhm.
of blues, of and also a person who lived in the United States and has a pretty healthy degree of knowledge about Black history. And to me, it was about it was about the promise of the American dream in a lot of ways. As many great books and great films are about the American dream, but specifically the American dream from the perspective of like the fall, the broken promise to African Americans,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
So yeah. So the Juke, and obviously, like, there's the two brothers, right? Stack and Smoke, both played by Michael B. Jordan. They wear, different garments, each representing the gang that they were affiliated with in Chicago.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chicago being a place that didn't have the Jim Crow laws of, and there was its theory of being free, right?
Mhm.
And the film does a great job of exploring disparities beyond the margins of legality, which is to say, the ways in which one is kept trapped without being shackled. Does that make sense? So, like,
Yeah,
I
for
can
sure.
keep you trapped in your own mind. And in a lot of ways, the richness of Black culture, which is a comment that they get in the juke, where he says, "This wasn't forced on us like Christianity. We brought this with us," and that was in the middle of that little medley that
Yeah, the anachronistic medley.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
there's a deep history, and I don't know if you believe this, but a DNA, ancestral knowledge that we all have based
yeah.
on
With
lives.
epigenetics, yeah.
No, I'm not talking epigenetics. I'm
Oh,
saying, like, yeah, so I'm talking like the history of like our ancestral, like for instance, Jews, the Holocaust,
Yeah.
like people, the children of the people who suffered in the Holocaust have that in them. It's there.
Yeah.
So
It's like you can inherit trauma. Like trauma is actually inheritable generationally.
absolutely, and so is
Yeah.
rhythm, and so is wisdom,
Yeah, I agree.
and so
Totally.
are instincts. Yeah. So, anyways, so I think that what what happened in this film was they were showing how. Okay. Daniel, if you don't mind, actually, I think this conversation is this is going way more into a monologue, and yeah, like I feel like I just need to rant about this. So if you don't
Yeah,
have
no
any
problem.
specific thoughts about this, like, did you have any specific thoughts about what I've already mentioned, or get your final take off? I just
No,
kind of
I would have gone on like, as much of a monologue as you, and it's your show, so I'm gonna let you be. So go ahead, man. I'll see you later.
okay. Sorry, I just the flow of that conversation was not necessarily working for me. I don't mean to be rude to Daniel, but it's just like it felt like every time I was going in a direction, there was just like a I agree, and I'm just like that's not really working for me. My bad, yo. So, anyways, I'm happy to have you call on after I'm kind of through this, but it just feels like every single time I get a point across, like I lose my train of thought because I'm having to focus on what you're saying. Because typically, again, not neurotypical, when someone says something to me, my urge is to respond. Anyways, so the point here was that there's many things that we see if you see like the medicine industry, the biopharma industry, the biotech industry, all of these things trying to co-opt healing, right? There's the ancestral knowledge that is taken away. And so basically, I think what Ryan Coogler is attempting to dissect in Sinners is how many things are taken and how they are taken from African Americans, their names, their heritage, their traditions, their rhythm, their music, their identity. And what is given back to them is a promise, which is, the stand-in. The metaphor is the vampire, right? The vampire, played by the Irish guy, which again, using 4 different ethnicities, so, like, the white, there's, like, 5 different ethnicities that are basically like the Choctaw, the Chinese, the the African Americans, and then there's also, like, talks about, like, shadism and passing off as white, with that one character. So it's just, like, there's such a conceptual overload on the like, how many things that Ryan Coogler tried to tackle in this. He's trying to tackle blues, you know, blues and bluegrass, right? Like, I don't know if y'all know this, but I mean, I'm sure you do. This is pretty common knowledge, yo. It's pretty common knowledge. Like, a lot of great music came from African Americans. A lot of great ideas, a lot of great innovations came from African Americans. And what a lot of white people decided to do was to make it accessible to white people, to make it acceptable, purchasable, packageable to white people. We needed to make it white. And so Elvis and things like that. So when I see a movie trying to tackle all of this, I am more critical of that movie than I would be of any movie. I am discerning, I am critical, like because you are hammering home and trying to talk about things that are so deeply powerful, meaningful, and frankly so poignant and so important at a time like this where we are so divided and everything that is happening right now in the world. And when you have a film like this, and I'm sorry for talking about this almost a year after it's coming out, but I just watched it, so it's going to kind of be like someone talking about Home Alone the first time they watched that. My point here is to not make this political. I'm not trying to talk political. This is not about one side or against the other. It is about how a person loses themselves. It's about how a person loses themselves in identity. You know, the the promise of the juke, right? There's so many like Easter eggs, right? The plantation dollars. What do the plantation dollars represent? It would be like work for if you work for Amazon and then they paid you in Amazon gift cards, you know what I mean? What are they trying to do? They're trying to keep you stuck. They're trying to keep you trapped, right? So this really what it comes down to is trying to entrap a person into an identity that does not belong to them, trying to manufacture, mold their performance in a way that is basically rigged for the other person to win, right? It's like what they did in Motown, right? Like stealing money, stealing art, stealing and then co-opting it and then basically packaging it. It's just like the same thing with the medicine industry, right? Like African people came over with like great wisdom of hoodoo and voodoo, and these traditions come from Africa. And then you take these traditions, you outlaw them. In fact, you go one step further, you legalize your version of it. Cocaine, heroin, opium, all these things are, the shit that you put in your body today is stripped down of the bare nutrients, the essentials, because again, what is it, right? When I mean, to all my immigrants out there, when I say my immigrants, I say immigrants, my immigrants. I don't mean that to be derogatory. I'm an immigrant myself. My immigrant people, y'all know that when we got sick when we were young, we did not rush to the Tylenol, right? We did not rush to the Tylenol. We did not rush to the aspirin. What we rushed to was what? We rushed to our grandmother who had a perfect home remedy for us, and it worked. The lemon and ginger and these things, they worked. And I just think to myself, like, the pharma industry is invested in keeping you sick. So this film talks about that, but it's also invested in keeping themselves existent. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many quotes that come to mind, but we are just a few days removed from Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I will say, like, one of the biggest lessons I learned from Martin Luther King Jr., and just to anybody who don't know how much, MLK and Malcolm X have meant to me, this has been my, post, like my wallpaper for the last 2 years. And every single day I look at this, I'm reminded of what was taken away, when these two great men were taken away from this earth right before they can collaborate. And what I'm saying is that Martin Luther King had this idea, and I think Malcolm X shared this idea, and so I would sometimes try to find where these two unified. And one of the things that they both unified on was that the world will allow you to fight horizontal battles, but never vertical battles. Your boss will allow you to talk shit about your employee, but never your employer. They will allow you to talk shit about your coworker. They will allow you to talk shit about your subordinates. They'll talk, you can talk shit about your secretary to your boss, but don't talk shit about his secretary to him. And this thing is like, it's so poignant right now because of everything that's happening in Minnesota. And I don't want to really get into it. ICE, people, Trump, all this stuff. I don't want to make this political. It's not a political channel. Y'all not subscribed to me to tell you what to think. But what I'm trying to tell you is, don't believe everything. Don't believe in the selective outrage, and do not believe in these stupid psyops that are trying to tell you to hate people. I have met people who are conservative and they are perfectly sane, and I have met people who are liberal and they are perfectly sane. I have friends who are pro-Palestine, and I have friends who are pro-Israel, and I have friends who are Muslim. I have neighbors who are Muslim, and they are not what CNN depicted Muslim people being on TV. The thing is that it's interesting. Black cinema, and why Ryan Coogler is probably the most important director of my lifetime. And I identified this when I saw his film at Sundance, Fruitvale Station, which was about the shooting of Oscar Grant. And it's just like the way that he handled that film, and, just coming into Michael B. Jordan, one of my favorite actors, it's just like, there's a type of Black story that studios will always finance, which is the Black suffering story. Now, I feel like I'm probably the wrong person to be talking about this. So if I'm offending anyone, I apologize. But I promise you, I'm coming from a good place when I say this, that there is a studio out there that is willing to greenlight your story about Black suffering. And just because, and this is my issue sometimes with the liberal inclusion, politics, identity politics of like Black creators and, the Black cast and the, Black crew and stuff, is okay, but who's the person deciding what story to tell? See what I mean? What if I want to tell a story about a black superhero? Oh, that'll never sell. What if I want to tell a story about a black princess? Oh, that'll never sell. Why not? Black princesses exist, black queens exist, black kings existed. But you don't want to let black people see themselves as kings and queens because then they might demand the fair share. You see my point? My point here is this constant news cycle, which now is on our fucking phones. Like my mom used to watch the news for 20 minutes a day and then it was over. I watch the news 24/7. Every minute of my life, I'm awake. I'm looking at my phone. Oh, news. Oh, stock is destroyed. Crop is destroyed. This person hates this person. This person shot this person. It's constant. It's an assault. You know what? One of the greatest tools that people use for interrogations, they give you a ton of sugar and then don't let you sleep. So then you end up losing your mind. You understand what I'm saying? This shit is an interrogation for your brain. It's trying to make you stupid by overstimulating you and giving you 5,000 things to focus on so you can't focus on the one thing. You see what I mean? The enemy of your mind will always strive to distract you from what is actually happening. And what is actually happening is that companies, the same companies, by the way, the same companies rebranded through hundreds of years, have taken traditions, medicines, practices from African Americans, packaged it as aspirin or whatever the fuck you buy for $20, made it illegal for those same people, and by the way, jailed those same people, um, created billions of dollars off the backs of these traditions, and outlawed the people who brought the traditions from even benefiting from it. The plantation dollar is the metaphor. The vampire is the metaphor. This is deep. This film is deep. And most films that try to handle a conceptual payload this large fall so flat on their face. And believe me, I have seen it happen. There are a lot of films with big grandiose ideas about, oh, I'm gonna tackle racism and I'm gonna tackle, colonialism and I'm gonna tackle, cultural appropriation and I'm gonna tackle, human rights violations and this and that and that and that and that. And they can't. They try to tackle 85 things and they tackle nothing, and the film falls flat on its face. Sinners tries to tackle what it means to be erased. You understand? It tackles what it means to have your roots taken. It's a scary world without your roots, not knowing where you come from, what you stand for. And then you got a political slogan that'll be like, yo, I know you can't think straight because you're over caffeinated, underslept, overstimulated, totally stressed out, totally anxious. And I know you're in a really, really bad state, but guess what? There's a political ideology that would be really, really great to replace all the things that you need to create meaning. Which you want to create meaning in your life. Go talk to your kids. Have a conversation. Create meaning that way. It has to happen offline. It can't happen online. I've gone into a rant and I have no idea how to get out of it. But what I'm saying is pretty simple. This world is a pretty confusing place, and it sometimes becomes very hard to identify who are good people, who are virtue signalers, who are bad people. What am I supposed to think? Who am I supposed to dislike? What am I supposed to support? What am I not supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? I have a very simple, ideology that I've grown up with. And, it's basically support good. Support good. When people are doing good, support good. Support, um, independence, support, I don't, I've made no secret of this. I definitely, when I had the job of for my fraternity housing board and I was able to, screen tenants, I always chose the people that I thought were being rejected by other people. That is a small thing that you can do to ease the playing field a little bit. But the playing field is slanted. The worst thing about a slanted playing field sometimes is just like you don't know the playing field is slanted because you've been on a slanted playing field so long, it starts to look upright to you. You know what I mean? That's kind of just where it's at. I feel like a lot of people are conditioned to hate somebody because if you hate them, you don't see the humanity in them. I can't, you know how easy it is to, go and off somebody if you don't think that they're human? This shit is as old as time itself. Tell black people that white people are not human. Tell white people that black people are not human. Tell, the left that the right is insane. And tell the right the same thing on the other side. And this is playing both sides against the middle. And who wins? Who wins in all of this? I'm not saying anything profound. Who wins in all of this? The money. Follow the money. It's always business. People are more likely to spend when they're stressed. Do you know people are more likely to take on debt when they're stressed? Do you realize people are more likely to gamble when they're stressed? You realize people are more likely to drink when they're stressed. Do you realize people are more likely to eat junk food when they're stressed? You know who's winning off your fucking political stress from CNN? McDonald's? Do you understand what I'm saying? There's something very beautiful about this film, Sinners. Because it exists. I can't believe this film exists. I was watching this film and I'm like, I don't know how this film exists. I don't know how they allow a film like this to exist, but I'm so glad that someone greenlit this project. I'm so glad that Ryan Coogler is as great a director as he is. He's been one of my favorite directors for the past 10 years now. I'm so glad he is as great as what he is, that he has the confidence that they are able to do this. Look at the double standards of how this film's budget was reported. They got $61 million opening weekend, and Variety and a handful of other, media outlets said, well, it pales in comparison to its lofty $91 million budget. And it's just like the double standard never ends, does it? Right? The double standard shit is real. Like Sinners, listen, I have been in a million casting rooms. Okay. I have sat on the other end of a application where, you're gauging characters, and there are white characters that have been written by a white person that are designed to be white, and a casting director will just be like, we don't have enough black people, and they just make one of the white characters black and give them the same fucking lines. Do you realize how fucked up that is? People don't have the same identity. Like you can't just do that. But you wouldn't do the same thing to a white person, would you? You wouldn't just make this character who is very specifically written to be African American to suddenly be a white guy named Luke. You wouldn't do that. The erasure is the point here. You see a black person in a TV show and you're saluting like, oh, diversity. That's not diversity. This is diversity. This is diversity. Allowing a black creator with a black cast and a black wardrobeist and a, largely black crew and a black superstar actor who has some very profound thoughts, not to be divisive, but to be insightful, to be interesting, to be universally understood. Like you don't have to know about the hoodoo and the voodoo and the East African traditions of these things. You don't have to know about Jim Crow. All you need to know is that this film had a resonance which touched something deep, right? It's almost like the film in and of itself is like the world walkers that they're talking about who can, summon the past and the future. And, like, I feel like we all know that thing, right? And this film was very profound. The last time a film really hit me this way was like a separation. I watched this film and I couldn't sleep for like 5 straight hours. I was thinking about this film. I wanted to write about this film. I wanted to talk about this film so much so that my favorite team just beat the defending champions. And all I want to do is talk about this film for 30 minutes because this film is great. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you don't understand it, there's probably hundreds of articles on Easter eggs and things. This is If you are someone who has been kind of sleeping on Black history, African American roots, this is a good time not to get woke, not to have a ribbon and not to say, salute the power and shit. I'm saying like actually understand what has happened here. Understand the frustration, understand the struggle, understand the upward mobility here. And my girlfriend, we watched it together, and I have this rule when we watch films this powerful is no talking. I don't talk, right? So we didn't talk the whole time we were watching this. And afterwards, she had the same question I did. She said, how did they allow this film to exist? Right? Like, how? This film was great. And it really touched for her too. We were talking about it today, and we were like during the OKC game, we were watching together. We were talking about it, and she said that I think one of the reasons this touched for me was because it includes so many genres that I'm interested in, but it also touches on a topic that I'm so deeply misinformed about or uninformed about, and I want to know more about it. If this film, in and of itself, can force you to dig deeper into the horrors of the Jim Crow South, if this film, in and of itself, can get you to think about the economic practice. I'll give you an example of the economics. Okay. I want to give you like a final nugget of like great information. Consider the Asian immigrants, okay, in the film. These two Asian immigrants. They are the shop owners, right? It's a man and a woman with a young girl, right? They are with the Black people, largely because that's how racist white people in the South are, is that if you're not white, you're basically the other. So Mexicans, Aboriginal people, Indians, whatever, you're all in one bunch. Black people, of course, the lowest of the low in that hierarchy for the racist South. So the Asian people were introduced into these communities largely to siphon money away from Black people in these communities to give it back to white people. They were allowed to get cheaper loans than Black businesses. If a Black person wanted to start their own store, they could access money at a higher multiple than the Asian person. That means that the Asian person has a right to sell to both Black people and white people in the same town, a town that is largely Black. So you consider places like Alabama and Mississippi, a lot of places. In that situation, the Chows, I think what's the name, Chows? The Asian couple, forgetting their names right now, they were basically world walkers in the middle. But ultimately, they probably, being Asians who are, they were railroad workers, laborers who were brought over for cheap labor. And then, of course, after they were done with the labor, they had to go on with their lives. So them being allowed into that community, they become the direct competition for the Black businesses. And because they're able to sell goods at a cheaper rate, they are able to access funds to start their stores at a cheaper rate. They are able to effectively take the money out of the Black community, put it back into the white community, because they didn't want to see Black people seeing themselves as business owners. They didn't want to see Black people seeing themselves as billionaires. And it's so interesting. Spoiler ahead right now of Sinners is that in the beginning, when, Stack and Smoke buy this, slaughterhouse or whatever it is to turn it into the juke, the person who sells it to them has every intention of coming back and reclaiming it the very next morning. They're just going to let them have it for one night. Grand opening, grand closing. Y'all caught that? Grand opening, grand closing. Number one. Y'all ever, like, y'all catch the for us by us bit? Right? Hold on, we got someone calling in here. Hello?
Yo.
What's good?
Hey, nothing, man. I'm just checking you out, man. I like the show. I like where you're going with it, man. I just wanted to come in and say what's up.
What's good, man?
Just a basketball fan, man. Like I said, I see you going into that movie Sinners. I ain't gonna front, man. I started watching it. I tried watching it twice. The first 20 minutes, I fell asleep each time. I just gave up after that.
Really?
Straight up. I couldn't make it past the first 25 minutes, but I'm not a movie guy. So, yeah, my opinion really don't even matter. But I've been following you. I like your basketball takes and everything. I just want to jump on here and say what's up. I didn't know if he was going to talk about some ball or not tonight, but I just want to give you some love. That's all.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we can go right back to basketball for sure. I think I've said about everything I wanted to say about Sinners for the last 30, 35 minutes. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the basketball?
Well, I, I got a lot of thoughts when it comes to basketball right now. I mean, because I know you're a Raptors fan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I really wanted to ask you about Scottie Barnes. Is really what I want to talk to you about. Scottie Barnes and players like him and Rui Hachimura, they almost got the perfect build for like the perfect basketball player, but it's almost like they're not that for whatever reason. And I wanted to know what do you think? Because I thought Scottie Barnes is when y'all got him, I was like, yo, he's gonna be a game changer just because he can literally play all 5 positions. And, I mean, he's not. I don't think he's excellent at any of them, but he's very good at all of them. You know, he's good enough to play all of them. But I want to know, what do you think is up with players like that to where they can't become a Giannis or or even a Markkanen at this point? You know what I mean? Like, why do you think those players are like that?
I think Scottie's better than Lauri Markkanen. And I think he's 18 classes ahead of Rui Hachimura.
He's definitely better Rui. I'll debate you on Markkanen just because I think whether you're right or wrong, I think it's close. Whether you're right or whoever's wrong or right, but Rui definitely. But Rui's just one of those players where it's like, yo, what is up?
Well,
with you?
Markkanen's an all-star. Like, he just plays on a bad team. So I don't really think I don't really know about that. But like, if you watch the game tonight, I don't know. Did you watch the game tonight?
I did not.
Yeah, like to paint it out for you, Scottie had foul trouble, and it was like a 1-point game. He's up, like the Raptors are up. He gets up, he picks up his 5th foul at the 9-minute mark. He goes to the bench for 3 minutes. The Thunder go on a 7-1 run. He comes back, erases the entire lead that they built up, the 6-point lead that they got, and he gets them a lead. He gets 2 jump balls in that. He gets an offensive rebound. He gets a tip. He wins. Like, he gets a dunk through that. He makes a good pass. Like, he just does everything. Like, he, to me, is the defensive player of the year for me. Like, I think he's going to be DPOY. I think he should be DPOY. Whether he's get the votes or not is totally, crazy. But like, he played center for us tonight. He's played point guard for us. He really can play all 5 positions. He's the only player in the league that can play all 5 positions. Legit play all 5 positions. Like, he last game outplayed Donovan Clingan. Tonight outplayed Chet Holmgren. So I mean, Donovan's a legit 5. Chet's more of a 4, but still. Other than Joel Embiid, like, he's holding his own, like, against centers this year and against point guards. Like, he's done a great job too. So I just think his defense is verbed up to a completely different level. And I don't really like going into the last game. He was averaging 24, 7 and 7 for 7 straight games, and the Raptors were good. Like, I don't know if you're fully appreciating how great Scottie is this year.
It's not. I agree with almost everything you're saying. The only part I don't agree is the defensive player, because just because I feel like Wemby owns it. He's just
Wemby would get it if he qualified. He's not going to qualify though. He can't qualify.
Okay. He didn't play enough games or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
Wemby not qualifying is why Scottie would win it. If Wemby was healthy, Scottie ain't sniffing that award. No one's sniffing that award. Wemby is definitively, the defensive player of the year.
And see, I'm one of those guys where I don't watch all the games of any players anymore. I've seen enough basketball to where I can see enough. I can watch enough games and see what you are. You know what I mean? But sometimes I expect players to grow, and Scottie Barnes is one of those players that I would expect, like you said, to be a all-star. Like I said, in the conversation for defensive player of the year every year, because he can literally do it all. And I just don't. My opinion, I wanted to get your opinion. My opinion on it is the way basketball is played now. I feel like if he had the proper point guard, he would be that. What we're talking about, almost like an Andre Miller type point guard, where they're telling him what he needs to do and how to get easy baskets and do and so on. So just kind of the coach on the floor, and that point guard has been removed from the game now. So everything's just like a like run and gun pickup game. And so I feel like he lacks because of that. But I feel like if this was like the 90s or the early 2000s, I feel like he'd be an all-star every single year, easily.
He's about to be an all-star this year.
I feel like he should. What is this? How many years has he been playing now?
This is his 5th year.
5th year? Yeah, I mean.
So this is a second all-star in 5 years. And he's an all-star lock. Like, to me, if he's not an all-star, I don't know what the fucking all-star is, because other than Donovan Mitchell in the Eastern Conference, there's nobody on that bench who's better than him. Jalen Johnson ain't moving the needle for me.
Right. No arguing that.
Cat ain't having, a better season. OG not even close. Like, I don't know who is the second All-Star. I know Donovan Mitchell is having a better season, but apart from him, who the hell is the second All-Star in the Eastern Conference off the bench? Like, he should be easily a unanimous vote for the coaches. Rick Carlisle said he would vote for him, and Rick Carlisle also said Scottie Barnes is a point guard. So here's the thing: a lot of people who are very, very intelligent have said Scottie's a point guard. Now, I don't, necessarily need to lean into everybody else's bias on this, but Kyle Lowry said he's a point guard. Leonard Hamilton said he's a point guard. Obviously, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo have alluded to the fact that he has point guard abilities. Jason Kidd has alluded to it. Magic Johnson said he reminded him of himself, and I'm saying he's a point guard. He said he's a point guard. His trainer said he's a point guard, so he's a point guard.
When he came in the league, he was a point guard.
Yeah, what he needs definitively is I don't know, Andre Miller. I think what he needs is like someone like a defensively slanted Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton, like someone who can hit shots, hit threes, not an offensive net liability and not a post-up guard, and definitely not a non-offensive player. We're not talking about Tyus Jones here. We're not talking about a guy who was like pass first, second, and third.
Right.
But like even playing off of Jalen Suggs would be easier than playing off of Emmanuel Quickley. Emmanuel Quickley's decision-making is like truly like Colin Sexton level bad. And I think Colin Sexton might even be better. Like, I just don't think there's a lot of starting point guards in the league that generate fewer good looks for their teammates than Emmanuel Quickley. Quickley is just 100% a gunner. He's like, it's like if Lou Williams played point guard.
Most of these point guards, I mean, that's what I meant by the era of basketball.
You think LaMelo is a black hole?
I think all these point guards. I mean, I love Luka's my favorite player to watch, but I mean, I can't really say that. I'm 40 years old too, by the way. So I watch a lot of basketball. So when I consider a point guard, you can't shoot that much and be a point guard, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And all of these point guards are shooting that much outside of like what's my man that's been hurt all year for Houston. I really like how he was with Toronto.
Fred VanVleet to me is not a point guard.
I think in Houston, last year, he was letting those young boys play, and when they needed him, he would come in and do what he needed to do, or try to do what he needed to do to win the game.
So Dennis Schroeder not a point guard?
Dennis Schroeder is one of those players that, yes, he is, depending on what team he's on. Because again, is
Davion Mitchell a point guard? He don't shoot a lot.
No, but he's a bench player. He's a bench player. I'm not putting him out as a starting role.
You could be a point guard and be a bench player. I'm just saying, like, what position does he play?
He's got to be a point guard. He's too small to play anything else. Davion Mitchell.
Well, they said the same thing about Allen Iverson. They still moved him over to the 2. But
Davion Mitchell's not scoring 30 a game. I mean, if you're getting buckets like Allen Iverson, we can move you to the shooting guard. But Davion Mitchell ain't even Eric Snow. Shit, to be honest.
Yeah, I just think the position needs to be reevaluated. Like you got Shea playing the 1, you got Luka playing the 1. Occasionally you got Ant playing a little bit of 1. The position definitely needs to be evaluated. I think it just comes down to organizing offense, getting guys touches, getting guys in rhythm. And
that's dead, fam. That's what I mean. That is dead.
I don't think that's dead at all. I think LaMelo does a great job. I think Trae sometimes does a great job. I don't think Luka does a great job, but I think sometimes, you watch games, Jamal Murray, Peyton Pritchard, there's a lot of guards who are really good table setters. We just saw one in the finals last year, Tyrese Halliburton, position not dead, There's definitely
I'm from Indiana. I'm from Indiana too, by the way, so yeah.
And you just then you got a front row seat to it. So
that's a fact.
Yeah. So anyways, any final thoughts, man?
No, I mean, that's it. I just really, like I said, I know you was a Raptors fan, and like I said, I like Scottie Barnes a lot. I really feel like, I don't want to say it because, I don't want him to leave you guys and that, but he is a missing piece for one of these teams to be a championship team because he's I don't think he's even scratched the surface of how good he can be, and I just want to get your opinion on that because me and my friends argue about it here a lot.
Yeah, well, y'all got Pascal Siakam from Toronto. You're not getting Scottie Barnes, man. That's definitely not happening. Scottie staying put, man. Scottie.
You see Rick Carlisle giving him comments. You see Rick Carlisle, yeah.
Scottie Barnes is an all-star. He's great. Yeah, laying out the groundwork for tampering. All right, peace, man. Appreciate it.
Love, man. One.
See ya. Yeah. So, I mean, all things considered, I think Scotty is significantly better than Rui Hachimura. But sure, I could see that. Understand. I could definitely understand how someone who's watching both players could make a case for Lauri Markkanen. I totally get it. Lauri's a really good player. There's a reason why he was top on my Raptors trade board for a long time now. I don't think the Raptors have the assets to go get him, but yeah, Lauri's a really good player. I just don't think I've ever seen Lauri Markkanen single-handedly win a game on the defensive end in the last like 5 minutes the way Scotty did tonight. But hey, this I don't think I've seen Scottie Barnes hit eight threes in a game like Lauri does. So it'd be a good synergy between those two if the Raptors ever got them together, man. That would be really great. Toronto Raptors, yeah, definitely go out and get Lauri Markkanen, but also definitely uh go out and get Day'Ron Sharpe, man. Day'Ron Sharpe's really good. He's a really good player. Malik Monk, really good player. There's a lot of really good players. But I mean, honestly, you just beat the OKC Thunder. There's probably a Raptor fan out there who's like, we don't need to go get anyone. We're great. We're good. Uh, it is 11:33. I didn't expect this live to go this late. We're supposed to do a members live today. It is too late now to do a members live within today. And if it's going to be tomorrow, I'm not going to do it at midnight to appease some stupid quota of having to do it on Sunday. So the members live has officially been pushed till tomorrow. If you are a member, even if you're not a member and you just want the members to benefit, let me know what you would like to see a members live on. I do have one kind of pre-picked, preloaded, to go, but yes, apparently I needed to talk about Sinners for 30 minutes. So thanks for putting up with me. I hope, you know, when I look back on that rant, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very circular, and I'm probably going around in circles because I'm thinking about things. And I sometimes, as a human being who talks so long, like 2 hours is a lot of time to talk. Sometimes I can be a bit circular, but hopefully I touched on something real that was for you guys, man. Like I hope you can go out and check the movie. Apparently, it's still playing at Fairview Mall. So if you live near Fairview Mall, Scarborough, Markham area, definitely go check it out there. And that's in theaters. And of course, it is on streaming platforms now. I think it's on Crave. So if you haven't watched it, hopefully you're not like my man and you fall asleep after 20 minutes. Give it a chance. Give it a chance to like really something that I've noticed. We went to a theater to watch Bone Temple the other week, 28 years later, Bone Temple. And there was this dude in front of me who kept checking his phone. And if that dude ever watches this, bro, please understand. I had just watched GTA. Sorry, I had just played GTA, like Grand Theft Auto 4 for like 3 straight days while I was processing a lot of shit. So I legitimately just wanted to I wanted to take like a grenade launcher and like throw it at you, bro. Like someone answering a phone call in the middle of a theater, in the middle of a dramatic scene. What the hell is happening to people? People cannot stay off their phones for 2 seconds. And this guy checked his phone no less than 14 times. 14 times. And it's right in it's in my field of view. So every single time he's doing it, he checks it and he thinks he's fucking slick because he's got like white text on black background. So he doesn't think like, oh, my screen's not black. Bro, I see your entire text. And it's just like, it's so fucking stupid. Pen, are you doing Pen Answers here? Yes. Yes. It is February 27th to March 1st, Carlton Cinema. Yeah, Carlton Cinema. We will have, I apologize, we will have the tickets up for sale really soon, like presumably tonight or tomorrow. Our programming team was very, very backed up. We had a ton of submissions. I'm still going through the final submissions. The decision on those was due like an hour ago. So I am behind schedule. I was telling my girlfriend, like, I need coffee. I'm actually running out of coffee. There's literally a movie that I'm watching right now that's about the world running out of coffee, and they need somebody to invent beds, and the world never got beds. It's a weird movie. But anyways, that's one of the movies I was watching earlier today. So it's just like my brain is so overdrive right now because I'm over caffeinated, and B, I'm very overstimulated, and 3, I've been staring at screens for like close to 18 of the last 27 hours have just been screen time. Movie. And again, this is my job and I'm very blessed. I wish I could tell 12-year-old Rob, hey Rob, it's going to be okay when you are in your mid 30s, you're going to get to talk about basketball and watch movies and run a film festival and make movies. And that's going to be your whole life. That's awesome. What a beautiful, charmed, and blessed life I now live. So every single day that I'm tired or anytime I'm like a little bit drained by doing this, I'm just reminded there are people out there who, clean toilets for a living and that's their life. There are people out there who go to work at fast food restaurants. There are servers. Like there's so many jobs that I've done that are like, I hated them so much that to be able to do these things now, I'm very, very, very thankful every single day that y'all choose to support this channel and allow me to be myself. Not that I know how to be anyone else, but allow me to be myself. And I got to tell you, in most basketball spaces, most basketball communities, if you just start talking about a movie for 30 minutes, that audience is going to half and triple, like it is going to go down so fast. And the fact that 400 of the 600 plus people still stuck around, it was almost 500 before the callers just stuck around to listen to me talk about Sinners for like a good 20, 30 minutes. I hope that y'all got something out of that, man. But thank you. Thank you for, sticking it out with me, and definitely go check out Sinners and Big W Scottie Barnes and the Toronto Raptors and Emmanuel Quickly and everybody. Again, as I said, the timing on this could not be better. Jacoby being healthy, Ochai playing, regular rotation minutes because CMB is out and not getting DMP CDs. Grady actually hitting shots and looking like the player that you actually drafted. RJ back healthy. Emmanuel Quickly balling, on this road trip. This road trip was probably a foray through a lot of teams that could be looking to trade for him. I'm just saying, recency biases exist in NBA, front offices, and there might be a front office out there that's thinking, "Uh-oh, Emmanuel Quickly has turned it around. I'd like to trade for him." It would be great to get to a point where teams value Emmanuel Quickly at least 25 million. So the 32 million doesn't seem so bad. Because if we can get to a point where a team values him about 26, 27 million dollars, if they can see the value of his defensive floor, his spacing, his playmaking, lack of turnovers, the shooting potential, the just generally better processing that he's been doing since he's been in Toronto. If teams can see the value of that, honestly, 32.5 flat for the next 4 years may not be as bad as you're thinking. Like other teams may look at him as that's almost fair. You know what I mean? Yeah. Grady looks like he's turned a corner. Not Donald Fagen saying a corner takes a month to turn. I mean, not really. Members chat here from Alexander B2911. Does Bobby think he needs to make a win now trade? I think if the reporting from Grange is to be believed, he does not feel that internal pressure to make a win now trade. Apparently, he and Keith Pelly, being cut from the same cloth, have a very good relationship. The Rogers board they trust him. I mean, take that for whatever it's worth. Maybe you don't trust Bobby Webster, but they certainly do. And they're the ones who are working with him, and they're the ones who are cutting his checks. So they believe that Bobby Webster is worth the investment and patience. So no, he does not feel some sort of immense pressure. They obviously, MLSE is looking at this like we're about to get playoffs in a down economy. I could probably rant about the Canadian economy for a good period of time, but there's a reason why for the last 11-ish months, my only waking thought every morning when I wake up is, when can I pay off my mortgage? When can I pay off my mortgage? Dude, the Asperger's is so weird. Like, I have such a one-track mind when it comes to shit. Like, it's so weird. Like, I have every day, I'm just like, okay, how far am I from the mortgage? I feel like I'm gonna get such a weight off my chest when I pay off this mortgage. I bring it up once every live, I think, at this point, because I'm just like, I need to remind myself, this is what we're working for. This is what we're working for. We got to pay off this fucking mortgage. So my point is, in a down economy with people choosing not to spend as much, you're going to find people who are willing to spend for playoff tickets somehow, because, Canada is really the economy of the serfs, at this point. Like, it's just like the haves and have-nots. And there are people with enough money to buy playoff tickets, and you're going to provide them with the avenue to do it. And believe you me, those playoff ticket prices are going to be insane. First playoffs after like 4 or 5 years, oh my god, you don't even want to know what those playoff tickets are going to be. They're going to be very expensive regardless of who the fuck the opponent is. You might end up paying like to play the fucking Cavaliers or some shit. And yeah, they're obviously very happy with Bobby Webster, even though the roster that he put together was totally deficient in a backup center. He is probably, presumably, being credited with the Sandro Mamukelashvili move working out so well. And obviously, he has always been pro keep Scottie. Allegedly, he was against the Brandon Ingram trade. So I don't know if he's catching any flack for that. But hey, man, I've been around enough corporate suits and board of governors to know that they don't think about things too deeply. They just say, well, the Raptors doing good? Cool. That's it. That guy's doing a good job. So, it's cool. Tariq saying, yo, Rob, which team would be our best matchup in the first round? Not Charlotte. Not Charlotte. Pray it's not Charlotte, bro. If the Raptors climb up to 2 and the Hornets get into the play-in, I'm really afraid for us. Cleveland has a lot more experience. Miami would be a great target. I don't like the Heat, even though, going up against Spoelstra in a 7-game series where he has a week and a half to 2 weeks to really dissect your weaknesses could be really tough. I think from a roster perspective, I just think Bam and Tyler Hero are gettable there. I hate to say this, but I don't think the Raptors should be favored to win most of their playoff matchups, not because they're not a better team, but because a lot of these other teams are older, stronger, bigger, and frankly, way more experienced in playoff settings. The Raptors, I think are playing above their age class right now, and they clearly have grown up very fast. Like the Toronto Raptors are a top 5 road team in the NBA. That is a huge win for me. Like that's mega sign that you're a mature team. I want to see it against a good team that's healthy, and I think maybe a lot of us do, but it would be good to see our best against their best when they're healthy. So right now we got New York coming up. The Knicks are playing slightly better basketball. Let's see what that looks like. Orlando, Utah, Minnesota, Chicago, Indiana, Detroit. I think that game against Detroit, which is unfortunately going to be after the trade deadline, which really sucks for the Raptors because you would really like to test yourself against Detroit, like a healthy Detroit team with Cade, with Jalen, with Isaiah, with Asar. That would be a true test, I feel. The OKC Thunder healthy are also a true test. That's the creme de la creme of the NBA right now. But don't look now. The Toronto Raptors, and let me just look at those standings for a second here. The Toronto Raptors are number 3 in the Eastern Conference. And by the way, I just want to share this with y'all because it's so crazy. The Toronto Raptors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Raptors have the 8th best record in the NBA. They're a hair better than the Knicks, better than the Suns, better than the Wolves, who lost tonight inexplicably. I think lost today. Yeah, it's the Golden State Warriors. Got blown out by the Golden State Warriors. Holy shit. So many upsets today, man. The only team that really took care of business was, frankly, the only team that took care of business was Detroit. Everybody else, and LA Clippers. Clippers took care of business too. But like, holy shit, right? Phoenix was favored to win. San Antonio and OKC were favored to blow out their opponents. It's just really interesting. AJ26er said, launch mortgage crowdfunding so we can help you focus here. 14,000 members times 20 equals a 280,000. Okay, so 14,000 subscribers. Yes. I don't think that everybody would need to contribute. Honestly, I don't like to disclose my finances in this situation, but like I am literally 15 away. I don't need 280. I need 15. So I am really close. I'm getting there. I'm going to get there. Maybe there's like a generous donation, that just floats in from the atmosphere, and someone's just like, here's $10,000 for your mortgage. But honestly, I want to earn this. I do. I want to work for it, and I have been working like a crazy person, like between PC, this, Penance. Like, again, I have other things that I do as well, editing on the side. There is an editing gig that I'm supposed to get after Pendance. There's another editing gig after that. And then, so I think probably Raptors get to the playoffs. My mortgage is paid off. It's probably around there. GW Con YouTube. Pen, I will pay your mortgage for the next 10 years. Just say the word, bro. Okay, word. Okay, so I don't know if this is clear. I'm not trying to pay my mortgage for the next 10 years. I'm trying to not have a mortgage. So basically, I didn't buy this place for very expensive. I don't live in like some super bougie apartment. The point here is I had a mortgage that unfortunately the interest rate was very, very high. And I guess for whatever reason it was high. And yeah, it just wasn't paying off. And after, 14 years of paying it off, I realized there was still so much left. And so last couple of years I've been aggressively trying to pay it off in like $20,000 chunks. And it's not that big amount, but every month it's like draining out of my bank account. You know what I mean? And when the interest rates went up like a few years ago, it started to be a real eyesore, and it was barely covering any interest at all. So anyways, that was the point. I'm not that far off. I'm basically like 4 or 5. I think I'm like 4 paychecks away, 5 paychecks away if I don't buy anything. Yeah. Just need 1,000 members times 15. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, I mean, hey man, the memberships do help. Like got, $3, $4, $12, 15, whatever, $15 memberships. Anyways, this is not canvassing for charity. The point here is once I pay this off, I feel like this load gets off my brain, and I don't know. It's such a stupid thing. People live with mortgages, but I just feel like in today's current lending crisis, like not current lending environment, this is something that just kind of keeps me up. It's just like, it feels like if I can't get through this, I can't start this next thing. I'm a very order of operations person. I don't know if you've ever dealt with someone who's a little bit on the spectrum. I have this very like, it has to be this order, this order, this order. If you've ever dealt with somebody who has to, I don't know, some people are very fluid, very flexible. Some people can, they can wash their face, then they brush their teeth, or they can brush their teeth and then wash their face. For me, one of those things has to come in front of the other, right? So it's the same thing with cooking. Like I'm a very streamlined cook, right? Which is why I'm good at cooking. Like I do things very order of operations. It doesn't mean I do them by the book, but I do things in order. There's like an order that this has to be done, then this has to be done, then this has to be done. And for me, it's become very fixated on this idea that this thing has to be paid off before I move forward. I don't know. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So it's just like, it's an open loop. It's a Zeigarnik effect. There's something called the Zeigarnik effect in psychology, which basically says once you open a loop, you have to close it, which is why, and to give you a great example of the Zeigarnik effect, I will, just dropping gems on gems here. Watch this. Okay. Close your eyes. Dun, 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 dun. See my point? It's weird that I didn't do the last 2 notes, right? Dun, 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 right? So our brains are designed to close loops. The problem is sometimes social media forces you to open 85 loops at once. And so now you become very, very, very stressed. A lot of de-stressing is closing loops. Right? You get it? That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So if I tell you I have a secret, and like social media algorithms, videos, content creators like myself use these things to trap your brain. So if I introduce a code, and it's funny, like I know this stuff, I'm not going to use it because it's, it's like bad, but like if you introduce within the first 20 seconds of your video, which is like usually where you lose engagement, and if you say, and there's this crazy stat and it'll blow your mind, we're going to get to it in a minute. If you keep peppering this in, if you notice YouTubers, they pepper this shit in like it's automatic in their mind. They're just like fire off subject sentence, and then there is a grab for your attention. There's like a line of intrigue, it kind of hooks you a little bit, and then it's like, and we're going to talk about that later. It gets you just interested enough. Something crazy happened to me. You're not going to believe who I met today, but I'll get into that after the game. Now you're stuck, right? I mean, if you care at all, you're stuck. So that's my point. Like these algorithms are all fighting for our brains, and the truth is, our brain is fighting for our brains. So do something good for your brain. Go to sleep, drink some water, have a good night's rest, have a good conversation, find peace in silence, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.